It all began with Cody and Robyn Brown, and the center of the scandal that is now rocking the whole Brown family to its foundation. Based on courtroom filings, Cody and Robyn engineered money out of the family's primary business account, Family Traditions, LLC, and into their individual ventures and checking accounts, all while the rest of the wives were being told the family was just getting by. Viewers watched the hints for years. Janelle fretting over every last dollar at Coyote Pass. Christine barely able to scrape up enough to move to Utah. We saw them pinch pennies, cut corners, and give up comforts, all because they were told the money was spent. Janelle was even informed that she couldn't even spend money building on the same ground she'd paid hundreds of thousands of dollars for. Meanwhile, hidden behind a 5-bedroom house on 2 acres, Robyn was living a much different reality. One the court was finally prepared to reveal. The trial progressed at a slow, deliberate speed from day one. Financial reports were posted, accountants were called to testify, and a sequence of questionable transfers emerged. Next was Cody's moment on the stand, and as many predicted, it was an Act 1 laced with self-pity. He spoke of his heartache, his sacrifices, and how he was betrayed by disloyal wives, who did not show respect to his authority. Cody asserted that each dollar transferred was an investment in the family's future. But somehow, that future only seemed to be found within Robyn's home. When Robyn finally testified, witnesses describe it as if they were viewing a Hollywood production. The tears were immediate, even before the first question. She blotted her eyes, voice shaking, declaring she was merely trying to be a good sister wife, that she never wanted drama, that all she desired was for the family to remain intact. She said she had no idea about the finances, that Cody took care of all of that, and that she was just as poor as everybody else. At one time, she even glared at the jury and hissed, "I just wanted to live in a trailer." But the jury wasn't fooled. Seated there in her designer shirt, with hair curled perfectly, Robyn's tale unraveled. That was when the lawyer for Christine and Janelle, a tough and outspoken woman named Anna Sharma, stepped in, and she didn't hesitate. She produced receipts from Victoria's Secret, designer online purchases, and high-end jewelry Cody had allegedly given Robyn. With every bit of evidence, another plank of Robyn's beautifully constructed persona was knocked away. Every time, Robyn gave the same lines, "I don't remember," or Cody said, "It was for the whole family." But the courtroom wasn't believing it. Nevertheless, Robyn's defense attorney, a smooth speller named Silas Croft, attempted to turn the story around, portraying Robyn as an innocent, naive woman that Cody had manipulated like the rest. But then came the 5 words that turned everything around. Anna Sharma glanced up, swung around to face the judge, and declared, "The prosecution calls Mindy Jessup." At that moment, our source tells us, a telltale wave of panic spread over Cody and Robyn's faces. The courtroom fell silent, and everyone sensed something huge was on the way. The second Mindy Jessup's name was announced. Everything was transformed. Cody's face went white. His jaw closed so hard, you could almost see the panic creep in. Robyn's tears, that had appeared staged beforehand, suddenly became genuine, but this time, they were of fear. They understood precisely what Mindy understood. As the courtroom doors swung open, Mindy Jessup stepped towards the witness stand. She didn't appear like a person who would blow the Brown family's carefully constructed reputation to pieces. She appeared normal, wearing a plain gray pantsuit, hair tied back, posture straight but strained, nervous, perhaps, but also resolute. She looked away from Cody and Robyn as she lifted her right hand and was sworn in. Next, Christine and Janelle's lawyer, Miss Anna Sharma, came forward with confidence and calmness, her voice soft, but razor, sharp beneath the surface. "Miss Jessup," she started, "state your full name for the record." "Mindy Alice Jessup," she replied softly. "And you are related to the defendant, Robyn Brown." "How?" "She's my aunt," Mindy said after a pause. "My mother's sister," and Sharma continued. You're also the half-sister of Robyn's first three children, Dayton, Aurora, and Brianna. Through your father, is that correct? Mindy nodded. Yes, that's correct. It was a subtle exchange. But the message was clear. Mindy wasn't just a distant relative, she was family. And Sharma continued, You've had a close relationship with the defendant for years, haven't you? Mindy breathed deeply. Yes, ma'am. And then came the pivot, the first genuine crack in Robyn's defense. Miss Jessup? Sharma asked. Were you ever employed by Cody and Robyn Brown? Yes, Mindy replied. I worked for them as their nanny. I also assisted with homeschooling and did household chores. And when did this employment start and stop? It was on again, off again for years, Mindy said. But full-time from late 2019 through the middle of 2022. So Sharma went on. You worked mostly at Cody and Robyn's house in Flagstaff, Arizona. Yes, 5 or 6 days a week, sometimes 10 hours a day. The courtroom leaned forward. Sharma was establishing a foundation. Not only that Mindy was an insider, but that she resided in the very walls where secrets were entombed. She wasn't an outsider hearing secondhand gossip. She witnessed everything. Then came the pivotal moment. The question that would open the floodgates. Miss Jessup, Sharma said, riffing through a file. Let's talk about your compensation. How were you compensated for your work? Direct deposits, Mindy responded. And your pay, if you don't mind saying. Before Mindy could respond, Robyn's attorney, Mr. Silas Croft, jumped to his feet. Objection, Your Honor. Irrelevant. Miss Jessup's pay has nothing to do with the case. But Sharma was ready. Calmly, she said, Your Honor, the source and nature of this salary are crucial to our claim of financial misconduct and hidden assets. The Browns have repeatedly misrepresented their financial state. This goes directly to that point. The judge paused, then nodded. I'll allow it, he said. The witness will answer the question. The courtroom fell silent again. All eyes turned to Mindy Jessup, and what she then said would turn everything around. The judge leaned forward, overruled. And so, in that one word, the truth unraveled. Miss Jessup, said lawyer Anna Sharma, calm and deliberate. Again, what was your salary? Mindy paused. It was generous, she answered carefully. Around $80,000 a year. There was a stir in the courtroom. Sharma raised an eyebrow. $80,000 for a nanny job? Mindy nodded. Yes. And these payments, were they on a regular basis? Yes, Mindy replied. Every 2 weeks, like clockwork. Sharma gestured toward the projector. Your Honor, I'd like to enter Exhibit 42B, the plaintiff's evidence of Miss Jessup's bank statements, voluntarily provided. The screens flickered to life. Rows of deposits appeared, lined up in perfect order. Miss Jessup, Sharma said, please identify these entries. Mindy leaned forward, pointing. Yes, those are them. Every other Friday. Then, there was the question that turned the whole case around. Miss Jessup, from whose account were these deposits made? Who was paying you? Mindy breathed in. The deposits were from an account by the name of KN&R Holdings, LLC. Sharma paused. KN&R Holdings, she drawled slowly. Not from Cody Brown's personal account? Not from Robyn Brown's? No, said Mindy. It was a business account? And just like that, the courtroom knew. It wasn't a salary check. It was a trail. A trail that pointed directly to a whole hidden financial network. As Janelle was being informed, the family business, Family Traditions LLC, was essentially Bear, Cody, and Robyn were secretly transferring money into a private corporate shell. Sharma leaned forward. Miss Jessup, did you ever receive paperwork or mail pertaining to this KN&R Holdings, LLC? Yes, Mindy replied. Sometimes they weren't careful. I'd noticed bank envelopes and statements scattered around, on the kitchen counter, on Cody's desk. Can you describe to the court what was on those documents? Before she could respond, Robyn's lawyer, Mr. Croft, sprang up once more. Objection, hearsay. She is basing her testimony on documents not in evidence. But Sharma didn't blink. Your Honor, I am inquiring what she saw personally, not what she heard secondhand. This is going directly to her first-hand knowledge of the defendant's financial transactions during her time as their employee. The judge paused for a moment, then nodded. I'll permit it, but tread carefully, Counselor. Sharma smiled slightly. Of course, Your Honor. Miss Jessup, what did you personally see on those bank statements? Mindy's voice was gentle, but each sentence struck like a blow. I saw huge balances, and I saw where the money was being deposited. Sharma moved a little closer. And where was that, Miss Jessup? There were routine transfers being made from the other family account, the one Janelle controlled, Family Traditions, LLC. It appeared money was being transferred from the general family fund into this secret account. Whispers rippled around the room. Mindy went on. There were also payments itemized from TLC Discovery Networks and from an entity called My Sister Wife's Closet. Sharma nodded, allowing the enormity of it to set in. So, just to understand, you were receiving a generous salary from KN&R Holdings, LLC, while the other family members were informed that the Browns were financially strapped. Yes, Mindy spoke softly. And what made you aware of their financial status? I'd hear things, she said. From whom? From Cody and Robyn, Mindy answered. The courtroom went silent. Please tell the court exactly what you heard, Mindy swallowed. Following phone conversations with Janelle or Christine, Cody would become irate. He'd rant that Janelle was always asking for money for the RV, or that Christine was irresponsible in wanting to relocate. He'd say, they're bleeding us dry. They don't realize the family pot is empty. Sharma's eyes narrowed. Empty? The family pot was empty, and yet you were aware of KN&R Holdings, which obviously wasn't Mindy. Nodded once more. Yes, ma'am. Did Robyn ever join in on these discussions? Constantly, Mindy replied. She'd try to calm him down, but essentially, she was conceding. She'd say things like, I know, sweetheart. They just don't see the big picture. We have to protect the assets for the little ones. We have to be responsible. She referred to it, their nest egg. Sharma quoted the words slowly. Their nest egg. Not the family's nest egg. Mindy shook her head. Number their nest egg. And that is when it hit everyone, the audacity of it all. While Janelle lived in an RV pinching pennies, and Christine scrounged up money to get her kids, Cody and Robyn were secretly building their future. A hidden nest fund, paid for by the same family they had professed to be broke. The master manipulator presents it as being noble, safeguarding the funds for the little ones. As if Christine and Janelle's kids weren't his children as well, who needed safeguarding, this testimony alone is evidence of the financial fraud. It is calculating, it is cold, and it is wicked. But crew, the money was just the appetizer. The financial betrayal was devastating, but it was impersonal. What Mindy testified to next. This was personal. This was concerning malice. This was concerning the deliberate, calculated undoing of a family. Sharma proceeded from the money to motive. Miss Sharma's second line of questioning was intended to dismantle Robyn's painstakingly built-up picture of the wife who only wanted everybody to be happy. She wanted to demonstrate to the jury that Robyn had not been a mere spectator. She was a willing accomplice to Cody's leaving behind his other families. Court transcript, Miss Sharma, Miss Jessup. You lived quite a lot of time in the Brown family. You witnessed Cody and Robyn's day-to-day interactions. Is that right? Mindy Jessup? Yes, M. Sharma. Did you ever catch them talking to each other about the other wives? In particular, Janelle and Christine? Mindy Jessup? Yes, all the time. M. Sharma, can you tell me about the nature of these discussions? Mindy Jessup? They were strategy meetings. Miss Chararma? Strategy meetings. What were they strategizing? Mindy Jessup? They were strategizing how to deal with the other wives, how to restrict their contact with Cody. Cody bangs his pen on the table. Mr. Croft places a calming hand on his arm. Mr. Croft objection vague and speculative. The witness is describing dialogue without giving details. Judge sustained. Miss Jessup, you must be specific. Don't tell us what you assumed they were doing. Tell us what you heard. What particular words did they say? Miss Chararma. Certainly, Your Honor. Miss Jessup, can you remember a particular conversation in which Cody and Robyn talked about restricting access to Cody? Mindy Jessup? Yes, there was this one time, I believe, around fall of 2020. Christine was calling Cody asking him to come over and visit Isabel before her surgery. He was not answering her calls. I was in the kitchen washing dishes, and they were in the adjacent living room. They did not know I was listening. Mazar Sharma, what did you hear? Mindy Jessup. Cody was pacing. He was ranting, he said. She is not the head of this household. I am. She doesn't get to control my schedule. She is not being submissive. And Robyn said, she said, I know, honey, it is manipulation. She is using Isabel's suffering to try to control you. You can't cave. If you cave now, they'll all think they can call you for whatever, whenever they feel like it. Mrs. Chararma Robyn stated that Christine was manipulating the use of her daughter's scoliosis surgery. Mindy Jessup. Yes, and Cody stated, you are right. It is a power play. And Robyn continued, you have to show them your time is valuable, that it has to be earned. You have to be here with the kids who respect you, with the wife who respects you. She placed her hand on his chest and gazed up at him, and he just melted. He replied, you are the only one that gets the weight of my crown, Miss Drew Sharma. The weight of his crown. Mindy Jessup. That is what he said. That was the last time he would turn his phone off all day. The weight of his crown. I don't have words. The narcissism is so off the charts. It is in another galaxy. And Robyn fanning his ego, catering to his persecution complex, playing the only faithful subject in his kingdom. This is not a sister wife. This is Lady Macbeth. She wasn't simply standing by. She was actively advising him, providing him with the excuses he required to justify his own mean, spiritedness and neglect. She agreed with his worst impulses. Courtroom transcript. Miss Chararma, were there any other such discussions, particularly about Janelle? Mindy Jessup? Yes, numerous times, particularly after Janelle began questioning the family's finances and the plans for Coyote Pass. Cody would return from a meeting with Janelle, and he'd be incensed. He'd say, she thinks that she is the CFO of this family, but she is an employee, Mrs. Chararma. And how would Robyn react? Mindy Jessup. With Janelle, though, Robyn's strategy changed. She did not employ anger. She employed concern. Weaponized concern. I am so concerned about her, Cody. Robyn would speak quietly. She is too independent. That is unhealthy for the family. Perhaps she needs less autonomy. Perhaps if you restrict the budget, she will need to come to you for things. It will remind her that you are the patriarch. Her words were shrouded in concern, but her motive was domination. Robyn wasn't merely playing on emotional strings. She was proposing fiscal dominance as a means to put Janelle back in order. Mindy's voice was shaking a little bit when she assured the court. It sounded like that to me, she stated. Robyn put it in terms of uniting the family more as reestablishing patriarchal order. But no matter how many times she said that, the result was always the same. Cody tightened up financially. He came by less, and he always did it by claiming Janelle wasn't honoring his leadership. Miss Chararma reclined in satisfaction. Thank you, Miss Jessup. No further questions. And just like that, the courtroom breathed a sigh. But it wasn't finished. Now was the time for defense. Mr. Croft, slick suit, even sharper wit, stood up from his chair. His air of confidence dripped as he made his way to the stand. This was his time to take apart the witness who had just torched his client's reputation. His one hope, make her appear bitter, jealous, unreliable. "Good afternoon, Miss Jessup," he started with a smile that could slice glass. "Evening," Mindy responded coolly. "That was quite a story you just told. A real work of fiction." "Objection," snapped Sharma instantly. "Counsel is badgering the witness." The judge's gavel struck once. "Mr. Croft, get to a question." Croft adjusted his tie. "Of course, Your Honor." He stepped closer. "Miss Jessup, you're Robyn Brown's niece, correct?" "I am." "And still, you are here, testifying against your own aunt. An aunt who took you in, who gave you a good-paying job when you needed one. That doesn't sound very grateful, does it?" "I am here to tell the truth," Mindy said, voice firm. "The truth?" Croft sneered. "Or your version of it. Isn't it true your job ended on less than friendly terms?" "I gave my notice," Mindy said. "I decided to move on." Croft lunged. "Decided to cut ties? Or did you get cut loose?" "After Cody and Robyn discovered you hanging out with Christine Brown, the same woman who publicly announced war on the family." Mindy didn't blink. "Christine is my aunt as well. I've always been friends with her." "So you have divided loyalties then? You are friendly with the plaintiff, Christine Brown. You've been spotted with her in Utah. You approve of her leaving the family, don't you?" "I approve of her being happy," Mindy replied staunchly. Croft's eyebrow went up. "So you are biased. You showed up today in hopes of assisting your friend Christine to win this case. Isn't that correct? You are a disgruntled former employee with an axe to grind." Mindy leaned forward a little. I came here because for years I saw Janelle and Christine treated as if they were less than. I saw their children get overlooked while Cody and Robyn created this ideal little bubble, supported by everyone else's money and labor. I couldn't keep quiet anymore." Croft's jaw clenched. "Let's discuss those so-called conversations you supposedly overheard," he said. "You were usually in another room, right? Doing chores?" "The house had an open floor plan," Mindy replied. "You could hear everything." "So you were eavesdropping on the clock?" "I was working," she said. "They were talking. I couldn't help but hear them. They weren't exactly quiet, especially Cody." The room grew quiet once more. Even the sound of a pen falling would have echoed. Because everybody knew that wasn't the sort of witness you could walk back. Mr. Croft rested against the podium, voice heavy with disbelief. "So you recall these discussions verbatim, Miss Jessup? These alleged damning words? The weight of my crown? Sounds a bit staged, doesn't it? Tell me, did you and Christine's attorneys co-author those lines with each other?" Mindy didn't blink. Her tone was subdued, but firm enough to cause a room to fall silent. "Something like that. You don't forget, Mr. Croft, when you witness a daughter suffering, and you hear the daughter's own father and stepmother write it off as manipulation, it doesn't go away. It sears itself into your brain. You don't forget that." The courtroom breathed its collective breath back in. Croft sneered, striding deliberately. "You demonize my clients as villains in some soap opera, Miss Jessup. But didn't you perhaps get it wrong? Perhaps you took a few private marital discussions out of context? A husband and wife complaining to one another? That is not illegal, is it?" Mindy's eyes hardened. "Was it venting?" she asked. "When they established an entire corporation to conceal family fortune? Was it out of context when they spoke about employing funds in order to dominate Janelle? To keep her in a state of dependency? Tell me, Mr. Croft, what context could possibly make that acceptable?" The words strike like gunfire. Croft's smirk failed. He changed approach. $80,000 a year, he said deliberately. "That is how much you were paid. You accepted that money, for years. If all of this was as bad as you say it was, then why didn't you leave? Why didn't you come forward back then? A little convenient to develop a conscience now, don't you think?" Mindy gazed at her hands. The courtroom sat in stunned silence for an instant. Then she raised her head, tears streaming but unflinching. "I remained because I was afraid," she said, "and because I loved those children, Dayton, Aurora, Brianna, Solomon, Ariella. For a long time, I was their sole connection to the rest of the world, to the outside world beyond that house. I accepted the money because I had bills to pay. But accepting a paycheck doesn't constitute an endorsement of what they were doing. It doesn't mean I am going to remain silent forever." She took a breath. "I'm not co-signing the lie anymore." Croft blinked. His composure cracked. "No further questions," he muttered, retreating. The judge nodded. "Court is adjourned for the day." And just like that, the day ended, but the impact lingered like smoke. Mindy Jessup, the quiet nanny no one ever noticed, had just blown apart Cody and Robyn's carefully built image. She'd uncovered the secret bank accounts, the emotional manipulation, and the intentional shunning that disfigured their family. She didn't merely testify. She laid bare the empire's bedrock of lies. When the courtroom cleared, there were no words, only emotion. Christine and Janelle approached Mindy, faces smeared with tears. They didn't say a word. They didn't have to. They just hugged. Three women united in betrayal, in bravery, and in the truth that at last had seen the light of day. And for the first time in years, Cody and Robyn's flawless image began to crack. It was a moment of vindication, raw, emotional, and long overdue. For Janelle and Christine, Mindy's testimony wasn't words on tape. It was truth, finally pulled out of years of silence and control. But what no one knew at the time was that this was only the tip of the iceberg, the financial deception. The manipulation, that was just the foundation. The following day in court would construct a skyscraper of hypocrisy on top of that, taller, darker, and even more incriminating. Because the following witness session was going to hit a nerve that once detonated the entire Brown family on national television, Cody Brown's notorious COVID policies, and what Mindy Jessup was about to expose, would rock not only the courtroom, but the very world of sister wives. The courtroom was full the next morning, reporters murmuring, cameras set, tension sharp as a knife. Cody and Robyn arrived appearing exhausted, their previous confidence lost entirely. Christine and Janelle sat silently, eyes glued to the witness stand. Their attorney, Miss Anna Sharma, rose, her voice serene but authoritative. She wasn't here to become the headline. She was here to reveal the truth. And this time, it wasn't about money. It was about control, disguised as safety. Courtroom transcript, reconstruction, Miss Sharma. Good morning, Miss Jessup. Let's revisit March 2020 into late 2021. The peak of the pandemic. You were residing and working in Cody and Robyn Brown's residence during this period. Yes, Mindy? Yes, daily. Miss Sharma, the television show Sister Wives, portrayed Mr. Brown as enforcing a strict set of COVID rules to protect his family. Can you describe your understanding of those rules? Mindy nodded slowly. I knew them all by memory. There was a written list stuck to the fridge. No one was allowed to leave unless it was just indispensable. Every bag of groceries had to be cleaned, every surface disinfected. No guests, no exceptions. The courtroom fell silent. Miss Sharma went on. And how rigidly were these regulations enforced within the Brown home? Mindy hesitated. That depended on whom you were talking about. She looked over at the defense table, where Robyn sat rigidly next to Cody. When it came to Janelle's children, or Christine's, the standards were clear. No contact, no visits. They were treated like strangers. But when it came to Robyn's family, let's say, the standard shifted. A low murmur moved through the courtroom. Mindy continued, voice firm but icy. I watched guests arrive and depart. Friends, relatives, deliveries from overseas, unopened. And then when the other wives' kids requested to meet their father, it was a no. Too risky, Cody would claim. But clearly, It wasn't too risky where Robyn's family were concerned. The hypocrisy was appalling. On television, Cody Brown had insisted that he was giving up relationships for the good of everyone's safety, a guy doing what had to be done. But in the house, according to Mindy, it was all about control. Who got let in? Who got punished? Who got to belong? And as the courtroom listened to her words, Cody's whole story, the dutiful father persona he'd marketed to millions, started breaking down piece by piece. And yet, this was only half the tale, because what followed, Mindy's description of what actually occurred during those lonely, extended months, would be crossing over from manipulation into something much more sinister. Her testimony was on the verge of shifting from manipulation into something that bordered on life and death, and the rest of the next few minutes would render everyone, even the judge, utterly speechless. The rules were unforgiving, nigh unmilitaristic. Mail had to wait outside for hours before you could bring it in. Clothes had to be shed the moment you walked into the house. No trips out, no company, no exceptions. Anion, who tried to break the rules, even a little bit, suffered the consequences. If Janelle's or Christine's kids weren't adhering to Cody's list verbatim, Cody wouldn't let them in. And they were strictly forbidden from setting foot in Robyn's house. At court, Miss Sharma leaned forward and asked quietly, "Miss Jessup, was this no visitors policy explained to the remainder of the family?" Mindy shook her head. "Yes, totally non-negotiable. Cody said it was because he wanted to be able to protect everyone, but it created fights all the time. He'd call Janelle cussing about Garrison and Gabriel, complaining that they weren't being careful enough. He'd complain about Christine not taking things seriously. He even stayed away from Isabel's spine surgery in New Jersey. Just because it involved traveling, he didn't get to see most of his kids for months." The courtroom fell silent. "So," Miss Sharma went on, "Cody Brown was going to amputate his own children to implement this rule?" Mindy's response was firm. "Yes, that is what he told me." And then came the question that altered everything. "During this period," Miss Sharma asked, "when Cody was not visiting his children, were there any guests permitted in Cody and Robyn Brown's house?" Mindy took a slow breath, every face in the room fixed on her. "Yes," she whispered. The lawyer nodded. "Could you go on? How many guests?" "Not an enormous crowd," Mindy described, "but they visited frequently. It was primarily Robyn's relatives, her parents, her sister Terillis, her husband, their children, other relatives who were local, even some of Robyn's friends from back in Utah traveling through." "And just to make absolutely sure," Miss Sharma asks Gabriel and Garrison, "Janelle's sons were not permitted to drop by, but Robyn's family were welcome to come and go as they pleased." Mindy didn't blink. "Yes, that is right." The hypocrisy lay heavy in the air. "Were these guests masked?" Miss Sharma questioned. "Were they social distancing?" "No," Mindy replied once more. "They hugged. They shared meals, the children played. It was normal, like COVID didn't even exist within that home." "Did Cody Brown mingle with these guests?" Mindy glared straight at the defense table. "Yes," she replied. "He was right there with them, laughing, having dinner, hugging Robyn's mom, playing with her sister's children." The courtroom gasped. Isolation had been Cody's sermon for years, shaming Janelle's and Christine's kids for wanting to visit him. He professed to be a responsible father, a man willing to sacrifice contact for security, but out of sight. He was violating his own code. He was playing favorites. And that wasn't hypocrisy, it was betrayal. Mindy Jessup's testimony had only just begun to shatter the picture Cody Brown had painted for the world. The flawless patriarch, the diligent protector gone, replaced with the image of a man who used fear as a weapon to dominate his family, living by a different set of standards himself. And while Miss Sharma huddled and prepared for defense, the courtroom knew they hadn't even gotten to the most shocking part yet, because what followed would expose what Cody and Robyn got up to behind the cameras when they were in lockdown. and it would leave all their fans, all their viewers, and even the jury wondering everything they had thought they knew about the Brown family. As Cody was on national television, fanatically cleaning groceries with alcohol pads, as he preached to his wives and children about the death threat of human contact, behind closed doors, he was having unmasked parties in his own home. Yes, you heard that correctly. Miss Sharma posed the question directly to Mindy. Did Cody ever provide any explanation for this obvious hypocrisy? Mindy nodded. I heard Robyn talk to him once. He was anxious, afraid the crew would hear about it or that one of the other wives would speak up. And Robyn said to him, Honey, my family are cautious people. We know where they've been. It is different from Janelle's boys who are out carousing. We can trust our people. It is a closed circle. Miss Sharma shifted forward. A closed circle. So the rule wasn't no visitors. It was no visitors except on Robyn's approved list? Mindy stared ahead. That is what it was. Narrator voice risings. Crew. Are you listening to this? Are you getting the scope of the audacity of that? This was never about a virus. It was never about safety or health. It was about control. It was a loyalty test. A manipulative calculation masquerading as protection. Cody and Robyn politicized a worldwide pandemic to redefine their marriage, to keep Cody away from his other wives and children, and to have what they had forever secretly desired, a monogamous marriage behind the veil of a plural family. They used fear to construct walls. They used rules to compartmentalize love. They used safety as a tool. And Robyn's words, "We can trust our people," reveal it all. It was never one happy family. It was Cody and Robyn's crew against the rest. This evidence didn't merely lay bare hypocrisy. It laid bare intent. The pain Christine and Janelle's families felt wasn't incidental. It was the strategy. The callousness wasn't a mistake. It was the intention. And then came the cross-examination. And it was, quite frankly, a train wreck. Mr. Croft attempted to regain ground, his tone bitter with desperation. Courtroom transcript, Miss Jessup, you have no concept of what precautions these relatives took prior to visiting, do you? They might have been obeying the rules to perfection. Mindy didn't blink. I do know Robyn's sister, Therese, had a public-facing job at the time. I do know her parents were driving about in their RV. They weren't in isolation. Everybody knew that. Mr. Croft bore down. So you are assuming, Miss Jessup. You can't possibly know. But Mindy's response brought the room to silence. I know Cody insisted that Garrison lose his job and that Gabriel break up with his girlfriend, just so that they could see him. But he never insisted on paying that to Robyn's family. The rules varied based on whose name was on the deed to the house. Miss Sharma rose to her feet. Your Honor, the plaintiffs found their case. And with that, Mindy Jessup's time on the witness stand ended. But the damage? It was done. Permanent sources within the courtroom report that the entire atmosphere changed. The jury, who had listened quietly for days, now regarded Cody and Robyn with patent disgust. Mindy's testimony did not merely reveal lies. It revealed character. It revealed motive. It revealed malice. This was not merely a matter of missing funds or violated rules. It was a matter of betrayal. About two individuals who plotted emotionally and financially to annihilate the very family they once professed to lead. The defense attempted to battle back, but it was already too late. Cody and Robyn's meticulously staged persona, the devoted husband, the misunderstood wife, had been decimated. And as the cameras continued rolling and the courtroom cleared, one thing became excruciatingly apparent. For Cody and Robyn Brown, the truth had finally come due. And then the climax, the defense's ultimate last gasp. Try it rewriting the script. They hired a financial planner, the alleged expert, to testify that the enigmatic Family Traditions LLC wasn't a scam. It was sophisticated estate planning. A ridiculous effort at this point. Then, they attempted to recall Robyn to the stand for additional damage control. but her own attorney, Mr. Croft, put a stop to that at once. Why? Because he knew the minute Miss Sharma had the opportunity to question Robyn again, following Mindy's incendiary testimony, she'd be ripped to pieces. Cody and Robyn's defense was falling apart. The fissures were too broad to be repaired. All they could do was their closing arguments, their last chance at salvaging face. Mr. Croft spoke first, smooth, assured, and heavy with spin. He characterized this entire experience as nothing more than a dysfunctional family breakup, a tale of angry former wives seeking revenge. He instructed the jury that Christine and Janelle were merely scorned women, resentful of Cody's new life, the monetary problems, nothing more than miscommunication, the emotional distress, just the residue of a crumbling marriage. But the instant that Miss Sharma stood, the whole vibe of the courtroom shifted. Our source described her closing argument as legendary, the kind of moment that goes down in history. She didn't argue the case. She narrated a story. She started with the money, the source of it all. For years, she stated firmly, my clients, Janelle and Christine Brown, did it all. Their time, their energy, their money. They constructed the family dream brick by brick, thinking they were in this together. But behind their backs, Cody and Robyn constructed something else. A secret fund, a secret LLC created to drain the family's cash into their own pockets. She hesitated, allowing the words to linger in the air before delivering the punch. They paid their nanny more than my clients earned in a whole year, and they told Janelle she couldn't afford a house. And then her voice changed, from reportorial to indignation. But this case, she stated, her voice growing louder, is about a great deal more than money. Money can be paid back. What cannot be paid back is the emotional destruction, the manipulation of years, the love masquerading as cruelty, the deliberate shattering of a family's will. The courtroom was quiet, each sentence struck like a hammer. She reminded them of what they had learned, how Cody and Robyn schemed to alienate the other wives, how they wrote off a child's surgery as drama, how they employed emotional and financial manipulation as weapons. And then, she brought it close to home. At a moment when the world was in chaos, when families ought to have been embracing each other, these two exploited a pandemic as their last, most cruel instrument. They fabricated a falsehood about protection, a falsehood about safety. But it wasn't about public health. It was about power. They used those restrictions to insert itself between Cody and his children, between husbands and wives. It was never a matter of protection. It was a matter of preference. She took a final step in the direction of the jury. My clients are not requesting sympathy. They are requesting justice. Justice for what was stolen. Justice for the breach of trust. Justice for the emotional agony that they suffered. It is time to hold Cody and Robyn Brown accountable for what they stole, for what they destroyed, and for the harm they inflicted. When she was done, the courtroom was gasping for air. The jury retired to consider, and in just 4 hours, they returned. 4 hours. For a case this complicated, that was lightning speed, which could only mean one thing: the jury wasn't in doubt. Mindy's witness had already sealed their destiny. When the forewoman stood up, the whole courtroom came to a standstill. Cody sat twitching, mumbling under his breath. Robyn gripped her rosary, eyes closed tight, lips moving in silent prayer. Christine and Janelle across the room grasped each other's hands under the table, steady, prepared, together. The bailiff presented the paper to the judge. He read it quietly, his face unreadable. Then he glanced up and uttered the words that would determine everything. On the issue of Brown v. Brown, we, the jury, find the following. And in that instant, each breath in the room came to a halt. The courtroom was silent as the judge started to deliver the verdict. On the count of breach of fiduciary duty, we find in favor of the plaintiffs. On the count of financial malfeasance and unjust enrichment, we find in favor of the plaintiffs. And on the count of intentional infliction of emotional distress, we find in favor of the plaintiffs. A sweep. Christine and Janelle had won on each and every count, but it wasn't quite over. The judge's next words would do it all. He turned over the page and read the damages. Our source explained, for the financial damages, Christine and Janelle were awarded a complete refund of their investment into Coyote Pass, as well as a portion of the sister wives' profits that went into KN&R holdings, plus interest. The amount whopping sum, in the millions. The ruling essentially compelled the sale of Robyn's house and the other tracts of raw land at Coyote Pass. Then came the blow that cut deeper than any figure. The judge went on to say, for emotional damages, the jury has awarded a substantial amount to each plaintiff. They had used it again and again in their written verdict. The words, credible, direct testimony from an insider witness. They were referring to Mindy Jessup. Her words revealed a trend of intentional manipulation, lies, and heartlessness, particularly in the manner Cody and Robyn used the COVID-19 pandemic to harass their very own children. That verdict wasn't merely a court victory. It was a spiritual one. It wasn't about the millions for Christine and Janelle. It was about validation. A court of law finally recognizing the years of gaslighting, warfare against the heart, and betrayal they had experienced. And when that gavel fell, the courtroom exploded. Cody was said to have lost it, ranting about betrayal and injustice. Before security could escort him from the room, Robyn wept uncontrollably. But on the other side of the aisle, Christine and Janelle were serene, collected, glowing. They stood and embraced their powerhouse attorney, Miss Sharma. Then they turned to Mindy, the nanny who had risked her career, her reputation, and her safety to speak the truth, and pulled her into a tearful hug outside the courthouse. There were no big speeches, just one line from Janelle that said it all. Today, the truth came out. We're ready to move on. And with that, it was done. The verdict dispelled the fantasy that had persisted for more than a decade. The legend of the flawless Brown family was extinct. Cody, formerly the patriarch, was legally labeled a con man. Robyn, the incessant victim, revealed as his accomplice, and it all boiled down to one woman who would not remain quiet. Mindy Jessup did not merely testify, she freed the truth. Her bravery provided Christine and Janelle with something much more valuable than money. Freedom from the deception. Freedom from control. Freedom from a life they no longer knew. The world now knows. Their suffering was genuine, their account accurate, and their resilience indomitable. The big Château de Shira will most probably be sold. Coyote Pass, divided. The Brown family we all knew, gone. But out of those ashes emerged two women, two queens, Christine and Janelle, vindicated, empowered, free and, for real, could it be a better ending?